Hi, I'm Kavanah Anderson. I'm a youth educator at Duke Gardens, and today I'm going to share some ways that we can explore and learn about plants. The study of plants is called botany, and I'm going to share some ways that you can be a botanist, which is a plant scientist, from wherever you are. The supplies I have with me today are a notebook, a pencil, and a pair of scissors. And if you have those things, great, you can bring them along, but if not, that's okay too. All you need is your curiosity and your powers of observation. To build our botany skills, let's start by reviewing some terms. You may already be familiar with some of these words for different parts of a plant, like roots, stems, leaves, flowers, and seeds. These different parts can take many forms on different plants. They can be different shapes, sizes, and colors, and it's not always easy to tell which part is which. So let's look at some examples on different plants. Sometimes you can find all of these parts on a plant at the same time, depending on the time of year and the plant's life cycle. Here is an okra plant, where we can see almost all of those parts I named. The roots are underground, so we can't see those. They are absorbing water and nutrients from the soil and holding the plant in place. Here we can see, what part is this? The stem. Here are the leaves, where the process of transforming energy from the sun into food for the plant is happening. Do you know the name of that process? It's called photosynthesis. Here's the okra flower. On this plant, the flower has all the parts it needs to pollinate itself. Some plants need insects, other animals, wind, or water to pollinate them, but this one has everything it needs. And once the flower is pollinated, the fruit can form. Now, you might be thinking, hold on a minute, I thought okra was a vegetable. To a botanist, a fruit is like a suitcase for the seeds. So okra is a fruit, and the seeds inside contain everything they need to start a new plant. In addition to observing plants outside in their habitat, botanists also sometimes collect parts of plants to study further. If you are in a place where you know you have permission and that it's safe for you to collect part of a plant, that can be a great way to learn more. One rule I like to follow for collecting is that if there's a lot of something, if it's not the only one, then it's probably okay. But again, be sure to check with an adult before you collect any plant parts. I'm going to collect this okra fruit so that we can dissect it to see the seeds forming inside. Dissection means carefully taking something apart, and I'm going to use my scissors to carefully cut open the seed pod to see if we can find seeds forming inside. Sometimes you can also use your fingers to break something apart. And here are some seeds. Here's another plant where we can look for its different parts. This one is called a black-eyed Susan. The part we call a flower is a composite flower, which means that what looks like one flower contains many flowers. These are called ray flowers on the outside that look like petals. And then in the center, these are called disc flowers, and there are many of them. I'm gonna collect this flower so that we can carefully dissect it. And you can see each of those individual disc flowers of this composite flower. So here we have the seeds that form if the flowers get pollinated, and we can gently pull this apart to see each of those individual seeds that have formed. So here on this plant, we've got the seeds, the flower, the leaves, the stem, and the roots. Some plants have special terms for their parts. For example, the stem of a tree is called a trunk. Many plants have specialized parts or adaptations that allow them to survive in their different habitats. For example, plants that are vines have stems that conduct water and nutrients throughout the plant, but they don't hold the plant up. A vine needs something else to support it. Otherwise, the plant would just flop over. This morning glory vine has a twining stem that wraps around this fence post to support it. Some vines have a special part called a tendril, which is a slender and surprisingly strong part that curls around something else to support it. Here you can see a butternut squash vine that's using its tendril to hold on to this fence. Virginia creeper is a vine that has tendrils with sticky parts on the ends that attach to surfaces. I really like curly tendrils because they remind me of my curly hair. Can you find a plant that shares something in common with you? Let's observe one more group of plants. These plants are from a common plant family that grows all around us. I think that you can find them growing near you wherever you are. In fact, I'm surrounded by it right now. Any guesses what it is? It's grass. So what is a grass? Before we answer that question, let's review another botany term. Did you hear me say plant family? Scientists put plants that have things in common with each other into groups called plant families. And they use scientific names for the plant family and for the names of each different plant. A scientific name is the same name that scientists all over the world use, no matter what language they speak. The scientific name for the grass family is the Poaceae family. There are more than 10,000 known grasses growing throughout the world, and grasses grow on every continent, including Antarctica. Some grasses grow parts that you might eat. Rice, corn, oats, wheat, and sugarcane are all in the grass family. You also might know the tallest grass in the world, which is bamboo. So what do all of these plants in the grass family have in common? What makes a grass a grass? Let's take a closer look. I find that I observe more closely when I write or draw what I observe, and it helps me to remember my observations. I invite you to try recording your observations and see if that works for you. You could write or draw about the things that you see, hear, or feel in a notebook or a journal. Here's a drawing of grass that I made in my journal, and you can see that I labeled some of the parts. The stem of the grass is called a culm, and in most grasses, the culms are round and hollow, like a cylinder or a tube, except the tube is blocked at places called nodes. You can see the nodes on this cut piece of giant bamboo. And when we open it up to see what's inside, you can see the hollow part of the culm and the node. Okay. Grass leaves are called blades, and they attach at the nodes. The leaves wrap around the culm before they start to stick out. The part that wraps around is called the sheath, and this part here that sticks out is called the blade. And on a blade, there are little lines that are parallel. Those are the veins. Grasses have flowers that grow in a structure called a spikelet. The flowers are pollinated by the wind, and once the flowers are pollinated, that's where the seeds form. So here we've got a blade growing off the side, and we can see where the sheath is wrapping around the culm. And then up here we've got the flowers growing in spikelets. Many plants would not do well if they were cut regularly, but grass grows from each node, so when it's cut or mowed, it can grow back. Now that you know a little more about what makes a grass, and we've reviewed some botanical terms, here are some challenges for you to grow your skills as a botanist. First, find a place outside near you where you can look for plants. Can you find different kinds of grasses? Can you find plants other than grass growing in a lawn? What plant parts can you find on the plants growing near you? Can you find plants that share something in common with you? If you have a notebook, you can record your observations by writing or drawing. You could make leaf rubbings. If it's okay to collect parts of plants, you could put those into your journal. What else can you discover by observing plants? Have fun practicing your new botany skills, and I hope you make many exciting discoveries.